We're good. We should be starting now. Hello, everyone. For those of you that are not watching the hockey game for whatever reason, specifically Oilers related, not doing great at this time of the year kind of reasons. Welcome to the Oil Drop Podcast. Unfortunately, we're not able to meet up last week because of some time constraints, but we're here this week, and we'll be covering some general topics. This is podcast number 27. I have a title here. Connor can win my heart any day.
We're way over 27.
We're 56. You're right. We have some varying topics here that we have to cover, ranging from Talbot's resurgence to the penalty kill getting better, Nuge as a winger, and so on. And I guess we can just get started, unless you guys have something in general that you guys want to chime in on. And I will be updating on the hockey score as we go along, for those of you that are also interested in, the actual topic of the stuff that we're talking about. Regardless, getting back to it, now we are approaching close to the end of the season. We're probably waiting a week and a half from now for the Oilers to be officially eliminated from the playoffs. Last I checked, their mathematical probability of making the playoffs was like 2%.
No, we're below 1% now.
We're below 1%. Okay, that gives us a lot of confidence here. Regardless, we have gotten to a point where essentially the games don't matter, but finally we're seeing Talbot get much better. I don't have the stats. If Adam, you can pull it up. We've gotten basically average to above average NHL level goaltending from Talbot.
I think in the last 13 games, somebody came out and said in the last 13 games he has a 9.33 average.
Yeah, a 9.33 goals against, not goals against, save percentage. What are you guys' thoughts in terms of Talbot getting better? James, do you want to chime in? Actually, sorry, I'm going to interrupt before you chime in. I totally forgot. My name is Arunatic, otherwise known as Arun. With me today is James, otherwise known as Paul-McCartney- on Reddit. And with me today is Shweet44722, otherwise known as Adam. And James, take it away with Talbot.
You mean just in general with what do I think about Talbot's resurgence?
Yeah.
Too little, too late, I guess. I mean, it's great that he's really picked it up, but I honestly don't really care that much. I mean, he was pretty bad for long stretches of the season. There was almost one guaranteed weak goal per game for half the year. So too little, too late. It's nice that he's playing better now. I guess it kind of builds towards the future, but for this year, I honestly don't really care.
Yeah, it's for the last 10 games, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Last 11 games, he has one below 900. One game below 900. Everything else has been 905 or above, with the last 7 games being above 9.910. So he's been above average, but the issue being, like James pointed out, it's too little, too late. The only concern is this the Cam Talbot we're going to see more often playing now, or the one that played earlier in the season? So realistically, do you guys think Cam Talbot's consistent enough to be a starter?
I sort of will agree with you on that, because I understand what point you're getting to, in that it's fair to say that we need a good backup. That's essentially what everything is boiling down to. We need a good backup in order to assist Talbot when he's not playing at the best level. Unfortunately, I don't know what Skype is doing. Skype is acting weird, so I'll throw it back to James.
Well, I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle of where he was last year and what he was this year. Last year was a phenomenal year. He was getting, there was talk of Vezina votes for him last year, and I don't really think he's a Vezina caliber goalie, but he played like one last year, so you can't expect to get that every year. I would expect that last year was was more of a one-off, to be honest with you.
Yeah, while I agree with you, James, that he overperformed last year, I do believe there is that level of goaltending is potentially like his ceiling, and I think we can get close to that level of performance from him in terms of for the future. But one thing is absolutely certain after this season: we need a good backup. We need a backup that's going to be able to come in and support Talbot whenever he's not playing at his best. Because we thought our guy would be Persois this season, and very clearly it was not.
Very clearly. Oh, man.
I mean, yeah, Montoya's got an 8.4 and a 3.46, so it's not like he's been lights out either.
No. I don't really know what people were expecting from Montoya, though. I mean, the guy's like 31 or 32. He is what he is. He's not developed.
I think they expected an above average backup, but the sad thing is he's been better than the backups we've had for the last few years. Like, when was the last good backup we had? Ben Scrivens?
And he ended up becoming our starter. I think the last good backup that we had was, oh my gosh, I can't even remember. Garon? Mathieu Garon?
I have no idea.
He backed up
Doobie.
No, not Dubnyk, before Dubnyk. Who was our star goaltender that got us very far? Dwayne Rollison. He backed up Dwayne Rollison. I remember that. That was our last, this is a very good backup. And he was the kind of backup that could back up, 30 to 40 games a season.
Well.
That's on the shop list.
We scored, guys. We have scored. I will find out who scored in a little bit.
All right. I know to start the year, I think this season it seemed like we had our goaltending on lock, and we've gone from that to a town hall meeting with McTavish and Bakersfield, who said that the priority for the season was defensive depth or forward depth and a backup goaltender. Problem being, of course, is how do they go about doing that, and how do they not gut the system doing it? With that noted, I think we're all in agreement that the most important penalty killer on a PK is the goalie. So, is the link between Talbot playing better and our PK finally deciding to not be literally the worst of all time linked, or is that maybe just a combination of a few factors that are kind of lining up now?
I'm going to jump in on this one because it leads well to another point or discussion topic that we had, and that's with our 5-on-5 goals for percentage. So one thing that was noticeable, especially at the beginning of the season, was especially when our power play and our penalty kill were quite putrid. Our 5-on-5 was still within around league average, hovering around 13 to 16 in that range. Over the last set of games, our 5-on-5 play has gotten so bad that we have dropped in that 5-on-5. Combine that with goaltenders just playing badly, and we are now sitting at 20th or 21st in the league at a .47. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so my numbers might be off by a little bit here. Contrast that with our expected goals for percentage, which is sort of like Corsi. Except it's it's essentially a more accurate advanced statistic that you can use. Comparative to that, we're sitting at 13th in the league. So a huge part of why our goals for is so bad is perhaps, the goaltending itself is the biggest issue in all of that. And I would argue even the penalty kill being bad is also, when it was bad at the beginning of the season and now was getting gradually better, sitting at 27th in the league, it was goaltending that was the issue. Because the goaltender is responsible. I would say 60 to 75% of the penalty kill is just the goaltender. James.
I didn't hear half of that.
Did you hear half? Oh, sorry, can you not hear me?
We didn't. I couldn't.
Okay, James, can you hear me?
No, not really.
Is it the mic or am I lagging?
It was both.
Okay.
It was, by the way, it was Tyrati from McDavid and Nuge.
McDavid and Nuge. Okay. Sorry, I'll just reiterate really quickly. Our goals for percentage is Yeah, chat can hear me, so it just might be like a Skype issue. But just for you guys to understand, goals for percentage is lower, much lower than our expected goals for percentage, and that should be widely attributed to goaltending being poor. And penalty kill being bad could possibly be considered with the goaltending being the issue at the start of the season. That was basically the gist of it.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to say part of it might be due. I don't know if you guys have noticed as well, but I want to say in the last 10 games I've noticed the penalty kills become a lot more aggressive, rather than sitting back and just waiting for the other team to take shots and try to limit them. They're actually attacking the puck and not giving the power play time to work.
I haven't noticed, honestly. Like, maybe, I haven't seen the past 4 or 5 games at all, so I've been a little bit out of the loop, to say
Fair
enough.
It's such a weird contrast for the longest time between our home ice and on the road penalty kill, and it's finally starting to, the gap's starting to narrow. But it's regardless, we're going to finish with the worst home penalty kill of all time.
Yeah,
that's inevitable.
It is almost impossible at this point for us to.
No, it is.
That.
It is. It's actually impossible unless we maintained 98% of the penalty kill overall as of a week ago or 2 weeks ago. We were going to finish with the worst of all time. So it's just, to me, it's mind-boggling that we went from so shit on the at home to the best in the league on the road, and now it's kind of averaged out to where we're slowly improving up the standings overall. But whether or not it was you can't say it's solely the goalie's fault. Yes, likely the goaltending being piss poor had a big part of it, but it's one of those things that what changed? You leave, I don't understand. Maybe it's the jerseys or something. Aren't the orange just distracting the power play or something? I don't understand what happened.
Can I add to this?
Yeah.
To add to the fact of the enigma of the penalty kill for this season, we have had at certain points, I don't know if it's still the case, but we've had definitely at certain points of the season, and I'm not talking halfway or 1/3 into the season, I'm talking a solid 2/3 into the season, the best penalty kill on the road. And the worst penalty kill on home ice.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, yeah.
And combined together, we were still 31st in the league.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I have no idea. It's one of those things where everyone knows it's a problem, but no one has a solution because you just can't wrap your head around what's going on.
Our home PK was running at close to 54% at one point.
Yeah, it's better now. I think it's around 55, 56.
I think it's above that. I think it's. Hold on, I can actually check this.
The worst of all time is 58. It shouldn't be that high.
Our penalty kill is 75.3. I don't know if I can find it at home.
Okay. Don't worry about that for now. I guess to lighten the topic a little, we can go on to our power play, perhaps looking better with the addition of Ethan Bear. So Ethan Bear was a drafted prospect by Chiarelli, I believe 2016 or 2015. Could you guys correct me?
2015.
5th rounder, I believe, right?
I'm not sure the round.
Okay, I'll find that out as soon as I pass it off to you guys. That's, he was looking fairly good. He wasn't looking great in the first game that he played, but still, Todd McClellan gave him a lot of confidence and a lot of opportunities for a good shot, and he looks much better on the power play. And that's one thing to be noted, is that throughout his career, both WHL and the AHL, he's found a lot of success in the power play. Right now, he's only sitting at 2 assists in 8 games, so it's not as if, his impact is monumentally collapsing. Yeah, 2015 5th round. Thanks, Pool Party, in chat. and it's a huge contribution. But do you think perhaps the power play looking a little bit better is because of Ethan Bear, or are there other factors?
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's because of Ethan Bear. He would be like, he's a rookie. I mean, I just don't believe that a rookie can really step in and have a huge impact on a power play. And even
Gosses Bear did.
Even when I'm thinking though, like Ethan Bear, when he first came up to the Oilers, those first like 1 or 2 games that he was there, he was putrid. Like, he was not good. So.
I would say, like, in terms of the point for the power play, Gosses Bear had most of his points when he was in contention for the Calder on the power play. He was running. The Flyers had like one of the best power plays in the league because Gosses Bear was manning it. With that said, I also don't think that Bear is the reason our power play's gotten better. Part of it, I think, is finally that McDavid's starting to shoot more. So the puck's being put on net. There's more chances around the net. With that said, it's not like our power play is exactly killing it. We've improved, but our power play is still at 14.8%. Wow.
Oof.
Holy shit! I didn't realize it was so bad.
Oh, jeez.
We're dead last in the league, but that's
I want to add really quickly here, when you mentioned Shane Goes to Spare, he's still like carrying that power play right now. He leads among all defensemen in the league for power play points with 27. Rather, he's tied with John Carlson, but he has less games played. And Ghost also has 52 points on the season in 68 games played. So
I didn't even realize our power play was that bad. Holy shit.
Strome took a 2-minute minor for tripping.
Yeah, he would. Actually, who's actually really pissed me off lately with his penalties? Kajula.
Yeah.
Last 2 games are stupid.
Not just last 2 games. Kachula and Cassian have been annoying me in that regard. Simply because they're taking a lot of really unnecessary minor penalties. And Kajula I've complained about in last season as well. But that's something they really need to work on and, have control of their goddamn sticks and stop putting it in, between players' skates so they can easily fall over it. Regardless, Pool Party, I do agree with you. Bear's outlet passes are really nice. He has a lot of poise on the power play. But I would definitely agree with Adam in that it's a lot of, like, one would say, like, it's McDavid shooting more. But I would attribute it a lot to players just realizing that each player has capacity to do any of it. So in the past, it used to be, you get into McDavid and McDavid makes things happen. And that was the entire strategy. But now when Draisaitl gets the puck, he's taking it around, taking it from slot to slot or finding an open man on the D. Klefbom doesn't always look for the shot, but looks for it as much as possible. And, so on. Like, the only issue that I have in the first power play right now is just Lucic. And that's it. I think our first line power play looks much better this season, and right now a huge issue is our second line power play.
I think we all have a lot of issues with Lucic right now.
Yeah. You guys want to transition into that, Lucic?
And we've talked about it before, but it's gotten to the point where, like, we can't not talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does someone have the numbers for it? Because I'm trying to figure out.
I think it's like 3 points since Christmas.
I'll arrange it. You guys.
It's 1 goal, 2 assists. I'm pretty sure.
It's impressive.
He has 1 goal. I know that for sure. I'm pretty sure he has 2 assists. And Camilleri has like 3 times as many points as he does since Christmas.
That is.
Which, to be fair, is not great either. That's 9 points, but he's paid 6 times more.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, Camilleri's been invisible, like, really. So
he's been all right. He hasn't been very good. He's definitely been more invisible than anything else. I agree, but he also only making $1 million. You gotta wonder because we saw the report came out that Klefbom was injured and he's having his cleanup done on his shoulder. I know people that speculated it might be a torn labrum, something that doesn't necessarily keep you out, but does cause some pain, discomfort, and issues performing. So who knows with that. The good news is it's not his ankle again. That's the big thing. But if he's injured, what if Lucic is injured too? Is that something? Because realistically, with his condition, can't remember the actual name for, it's going to get worse with time. So there's a good chance that Lucic ends up in LTIR in a couple of years.
Yeah.
So
the disease that Lucic has is called, pardon my German pronunciation, but Dutch pronunciation, Schumerman's disease. It's a condition that causes the upper back to curve and gives Lucic essentially his hunched over posture, and it gets worse with time. Yeah. Schumerman's disease or something like that.
Schumerman's, yeah.
Schumerman's. There we go. Thank you. I am not good with pronunciations, as evidenced by most of the things that I say. Regardless, Lucic's stats that I did want to quickly touch on, because you mentioned it. 1 goal in 35 games since Christmas. 5 assists in 35 games since Christmas. In terms of time on ice, hold on, let me summarize really quickly here. All forwards. Among our forwards, he is 5th for average time on ice. It's not going to look any better the more I talk about it, but he's the worst on the team with a -18 since Christmas. He is, I think, the 3rd or 4th worst for penalty minutes. Tied for 5th worst for penalty minutes since Christmas. And it's just zeros for the rest of it. And that's been Lucic since Christmas. But one thing that I wanted to talk about is I was at that game. Thank you, by the way. I got some tickets from a buddy in the podcast right now. For the Arizona Coyotes game, which was quite fun. That was a thriller. We came up 3-1 after the first period. Third period, they tied it and wanted an OT. Fun game. But Lucic managed to break his goalless drought, and he scored his sole goal so far of 2018 in that game. And that was probably one of the luckiest goals you will see in a long time. I think it was Kemper. Yeah, Kemper was way out of position. Didn't properly cover it and just assumed that Lucic would have a bad shot. That being said, credit to Lucic for putting it in the back of the net. But I still thought Lucic was the worst forward in that game. The best way to describe the way that Lucic played was that he always wanted to get to the puck, but he couldn't get there. Does that make sense? Either the reaction is too slow, or he's just not on the same beat. Oh, nice! You were in the game too, yeah.
It seems like he knows where he wants to be, but doesn't have the foot speed to get there anymore. And it looks like
it's not just foot speed, Adam. I'm going to interrupt really quickly, but reaction time too is so much slower.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Chara from a year or two ago, to be honest, where, he's getting older. He's had a few injuries. He's not, you're not entirely sure where he stands anymore. Chara changed his whole diet up and changed a lot of fitness this year, and he's actually looked a lot better. But it's interesting, the drop-off. For me, it's, again, like the penalty kill. It's just so confusing how Lucic was on pace for, 60 points. And he got to Christmas, and then is on pace for what? He's only got 6 points in the last 35 games. He's on pace for 18 points for a full season of that. Yeah. That's ridiculous. It's such a dramatic drop off that it doesn't seem logical, and especially with the fact he's playing with McDavid. If he's playing with anyone else, if you're playing 3rd or 4th line, it's all right, well, he's playing 3rd or 4th line, he's slow, whatever, fine. 1st or 2nd line with McDavid and Draisaitl is a little okay, he's setting you up for at least 3 chances a night. You're blowing every chance you get. What's going on here? Yeah, do you guys think it's a case of us just, again, overpaying a veteran who is going to now underperform, or is it that maybe something's genuinely wrong with Lucic this season?
Well, it could be both. Why not both?
True.
You know, I would say, like, as soon as he signed that deal, everyone said, you know, like, years 5, 6, and 7, they're going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
But we should have, you know, 3 or 4 good years out of him.
This is year 2.
Year 2.
Yeah. So,
like, honestly, the only thing we can really hope for is the Hossa situation.
oh, jeez, yeah. Or maybe a compliance buyout with the next lockout.
Yeah.
That's a potential too, but at the same time, my problem with Chia right now is that Lucic is still a Chia player.
Yeah.
He's a big guy. He's a locker room guy. He's an assistant captain. You know, he's the kind of player that Chia goes for, regardless of whether or not they're good. And we saw it a lot in Boston with, Soderberg and McQuaid and now Lucic and it's the guys that don't necessarily contribute all the time. Although Lucic was a good player back then, obviously.
He was a really good player.
Who get the big bucks to do what
big hits,
nobody really know. Yeah, like it's a truculent kind of guys. The guys that Brian Burke would buy it. Yeah, it's not the way the NHL works anymore,
No.
And it's a little concerning that even if I don't know if Chiarelli had the chance to do it, whether or not he would.
Yeah.
And that's the worrying part.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sure.
So we are approaching the halftime of our lovely podcast today. Considering that there are numerous hockey games going on at this time, I will provide you with a quick score update across the league, brought to you by
Nobody, because I'm not sponsored by anybody.
Sponsored by ourselves, brought to you by ourselves. It is 4-1 between Colorado and Detroit with 5 minutes left to play. Colorado with 4. Vegas is getting badly outshot by Calgary, but Mike Smith has let 3 easy ones, I think, let through, and it is 3-0 Calgary. Calgary had double the shots that Vegas did before Vegas first scored.
3-0 Vegas, you mean? Vegas was up 2-0 last time I checked, so it has to be 3-0 Vegas.
It's 3-0 now, yeah. And that is 5 minutes left in the second. First period of Carolina Islanders, and the Islanders are floundering right now. Carolina is up 2-0, and they're on the power play. Edmonton, it's 7 minutes, 40 seconds-ish left in the game. 1-0 Edmonton still, albeit the shots are fairly even, and we've killed off another away power play penalty kill. There we go. And the Philly-Washington game is scoreless. Coming back to podcast. Podcast.
Tiger Woods is also tied for third at 12 under.
Yes. Brought to you by residential golf expert Adam Weirwood.
What?
Sorry, I had fun with that one. So I guess another topic to talk about is sort of what's going on with our first line right now, considering the goal scored is Ty Ratty. TSN's still showing it as unassisted, but I'm going to agree with you guys, and it's assisted by McDavid and Nugent Hopkins. And I agree with you, Nuge has been
it's Nuge and Larson. Yeah. They updated on scores. Nuge and Larson.
Nuge and Larson. Okay, thank you. So I'm using TSN. TSN's really bad. Don't use TSN. So I guess that brings us to our first line right now. So for a hefty chunk of games, I think about 3 or 4, it was Nugent Hopkins, Aberg, and what's up?
I was wrong. It is unassisted. I looked at plus minus instead of goal assist. So it was Ty Ratty unassisted.
Ty Ratty unassisted, 14 seconds into the game. Anyway, coming back to it. So the top line still was Nuge, McDavid, and Aberg, and now it's Nuge, McDavid, and Ty Ratty. There's good things and bad things. Right now, McDavid and Nugent Hopkins are pouring on the points, especially Nuge with goals. He's up to 20 goals season. I think it's his second in his career, if not his first. I would have to double check. So essentially our shutdown center, and our very good shutdown center, is now a winger on McDavid's wing. Your guys' thoughts in terms of how that first line has been? And one thing to point out is that Corsi-wise, that line has not been good. Before I throw it to you guys.
Really?
Yeah. I'll double check on it before I conclude.
If they're not in the offensive zone, I've noticed if they're not in the offensive zone, they are getting trapped and beat badly in defensive zone. I think a lot of that to be fair, when I was watching, I think a lot of that is due to McDavid occasionally flying in the zone, Nuge seemingly forgetting he's playing a winger at times and drifting into a centerman position, and Aberg had a lot of bad turnovers in the last couple of games. So I think that's a culmination of a few effects. But if they aren't dominating the offensive zone, which when they get the puck they are, especially on the rush, to be honest, they were getting hammered in the defensive zone. But with that said, with how much they're producing points, I don't know if you can separate them, especially like Nuge and McDavid. We all know Todd McLellan loves to go off pairs.
That's the way he generally works, yeah.
Yeah. For a long time, it was Draisaitl and McDavid. Right now, it's Nuge and McDavid are playing quite well. And the concerning part for me is then the mainstream media is now bringing up the fact that Nuge should be trade bait because he's playing so well. Yeah. And I don't know, again, if I have enough confidence to say that we won't go that route.
Yeah.
As in not trade him?
As in I don't know if we will not trade him.
Yeah.
Well,
geez, we're back to sadness podcast. Welcome back to sadness podcast.
We've been conditioned for the last 12 years to assume that anytime something goes right, we don't deserve it and it's gone the next moment, because that's what's happened every single time.
Yeah.
And the problem is when you place management in a position who's never won a big trade, who can win small trades for a short amount of time and then screw something up completely by giving them a massive contract, or make poor decisions in terms of asset management that are then going to screw us for the next 5 to 6 years, you don't have confidence that they won't do something incredibly dumb.
Yeah.
And so with the fact that Nuge was trade bait last year, he was trade bait all season, the only reason he likely wasn't in the talks being traded during the trade deadline was because he was injured.
Yeah.
You get concerned.
Yeah, and to add to this concern is, like, for example, the moment that what was his name, Eberle's name hit the trade bait, the very next moment he pretty much got traded.
Yeah, it was like, oh, he's up and he's gone.
So really quickly, relative Corsi, I don't have enough numbers, minutes played for me to put Tyrati on here. But relative Corsi 4 for Pontus Aberg is the worst on the team still at negative 4.2.
Cool.
With playing with McDavid.
Yeah, he was very okay. He's
his expected goals for is also in the negatives too, but then again, a lot of the team is.
Yeah.
Nugent Hopkins is especially bad in expected goals for. Actually, that one surprised me. Anyway, coming back to you guys.
It's like to me. It makes too much sense not to trade Nuge, which is why he will be traded. If that makes any sense at all. Like the fact that Nuge can play as a wing or a centerman. If someone gets injured, he can fill in a spot. If Draisaitl gets injured, he can play. Nuge can play center. If Nuge gets injured, someone else can fill that spot. You know, have Yamamoto and Puljujärvi next year. You know, potentially acquiring extra depth. It's one of those things that. It's been a really good experiment, and it should continue beyond the next season.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm just completing some stats. It's the only thing I'm interrupting with. I was wrong. The worst on the team is not Pontus Aberg. It is Tyrati with negative 5.7. For
how many games has he played? Tyrati's played like 4 games, though.
He has played 3 games.
Yeah. So I mean,
which is not fair to him, honestly. But
Aberg hasn't played a whole lot either. To be fair,
he's played 45 games.
Not with the Oilers, though.
Not with the Oilers, no.
And he was playing 4th line in Nashville, so I mean that's probably better. But at the same time, it's apparently the Lightning just scored.
Lightning scored?
Yeah.
The Lightning scored. Victor Hedman. I will find out assists when I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's sadness part. But James, I want to get your opinion on what's up with the first line. What are your thoughts? If you've managed to catch a glimpse of whoever he's alternating on the winger.
I didn't know that they were that bad, to be honest with you. Yeah, sorry. I don't know, to be 100% honest with you. I didn't know that they were that bad.
They're putting in points. That's the one thing that I do want to talk about here. We're talking about it like it's the worst thing ever. They're putting up a lot of points, especially McDavid and Nugent Hopkins. It's just, 5-on-5 play and generals, things like that. It's not working out. Fluky goal off of the face-off from Hedman. That was the goal.
And the Knights scored another one on Calgary, so they're up 4-0.
Yeah. James, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was done. Go ahead.
It's the concerning thing for me is it's when you watch the line, McDavid is flying the zone a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that likely has to do with the fact that the coaches are letting him do so because Nugent Hopkins is the most defensively responsible forward on our team. Nuge is obviously, McDavid came out last week and said that he thinks Nuge is the best one of the best defensive sound forward in the game, and I wouldn't disagree with that. Obviously, we're a little biased, but it's one of those things where it might be a strategy they're going with, in which case it does create more turnovers, it does create more chances against, but it's also, if you get the breakout, then you have a lot more odd man rushes, a lot more attempts on net, a lot more shots produced, and then offensive zone time produced as well.
Yeah.
So it's a risk and reward kind of play that that line is playing, and although it has gone well generally, it is a little worrying that could be a potential strategy used in the future that then might backfire.
Yeah.
But it also depends on who's playing the other wing.
Yeah.
If you have a second defensive responsible forward, then you're okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I honestly believe that chemistry is just going to come down to who that second winger is. And if that second winger is even if the second winger is a type that just is really good at being in the right position and putting it in the back of the net, that's fantastic. If he can be the type of person that can keep a cycle going and keep offensive pressure going, fantastic. If he's the type of person to be super defensively responsible, fantastic. Because these two players are able to make up for that other winger's weakness. But right now, with players like Ty Ratty and Pontus Aberg, I don't think they bring enough to the table to complement what Nugent Hopkins and McDavid have.
It seems like what they're doing is trying to throw a fast, skilled winger on there, and regardless of whether or not they complement them.
Right.
Because realistically, McDavid and Nuge are two of the fastest skaters on the team. McDavid's obviously the fastest in league history as of right now. Nuge was probably the fastest on the team before McDavid, aside from Hall. And so having those two on the ice together you need a speedy forward to keep up. You can't put Lucic on there. Even Draisaitl struggles to keep up sometimes, depending on what kind of game he's having. So the struggle is finding a forward that can keep up who's also skilled enough that he isn't going to lag behind the two players.
Yeah.
Or figure out maybe, I don't know, like Kajula, which isn't a good option, but at least he has good hands. Mm-hmm. And he can make up for mistakes, but the way he's playing doesn't deserve it.
I will, because we're pretty much done with all our topics, and I know some of us have to leave, but I will put forward one last small topic that you guys can push away or whatnot. McDavid leads the leagues in takeaways. The defensive aspect of his game is something that's really, really overlooked. Honestly, with the number of points that he puts up and the defensive contributions that he has, as well as the fact that he penalty kills, he should be, in my opinion, in a little bit of consideration for the Selke. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. And I'm not mispronouncing it like I mispronounce everything. But, guys like Barkov, obviously I think it's Patrice Bergeron's to lose this season. But Barkov and basically your stereotypical second-line center is always getting the first look at that award. What are your guys' thoughts in terms of that? Do you think McDavid is defensively responsible enough to be considered for a Selke? Or do you think perhaps it's just an award that's trending more towards a type like Nugent Hopkins or Patrice Bergeron? And I say Nugent Hopkins in terms of the stereotype. Sorry, James?
Yeah, I think it's an award that's really given based off of the stereotype of what they have. I mean, McDavid is fantastic defensively, but he's not known for that primarily, so I can't ever see him being nominated for it. Whereas someone like Ryan Nugent Hopkins Patrice Bergeron, these guys, they make careers like that. So
you look at the front runners this year, it's Kopitar and Bergeron. Although they put up a lot of points, both having solid seasons. They're definitely the kind of players that get hard matchups, and there's a perception that McDavid is such an offensive dynamo that he doesn't really get hard matchups. It's very much the kind of thing where, Sidney Crosby is fantastically defensively sound, but he's never been nominated for a Selke or never been in the top 3 running.
Fair.
Despite the fact that he arguably could be, because he is that good defensively. But he's known for putting up points. He carries the team offensively. He plays his position on defense, but his job is to score points. It's the same with McDavid, where he's very much a player that's relied on to produce points and happens to be defensively sound. I think that's the difference between how Kopitar and Bergeron and Nuge are perceived versus how McDavid and Crosby are perceived, or Stamkos even, or Kucherov. Like, they're all defensively sound players, and you have to be in this league to be a good forward. Generally, there's very few players who can be good defensively and good offensively. The only person I can think of off the top of my head is maybe Malkin and Ovechkin, who are arguably 2 of the best Russian players of all time. But it's the perception that Kopitar and Bergeron play in every situation. They get the hardest matchups, but they still produce points, versus McDavid and Crosby, who everyone has to match them because they're that far above everyone else.
Right.
And therefore they don't really play as much defense because they dominate so heavily offensively that they're not really playing as much defense. They don't have to worry about making that takeaway, blocking a shot, getting the puck out, digging for loose pucks in your own end, that kind of thing.
Yeah. We have to end the podcast really quick, but I do agree with Pool Party in some aspects. I honestly think, because of that stereotype aspect, Draisaitl has a better chance down the line of being consideration for a Selke than McDavid does, even though McDavid should. Anyway, that's it for the podcast for us today. Hope you enjoy the rest of the game, and hopefully the Oilers don't continue to get dominated and allow 16 shots in the first period. It's the end of the first, but that's it for us. Thank you for joining us for the Oil Job Podcast number 56. Connor can win my heart any day, and this has been us. That's it, and we will see you. I won't even go over names because we do have to end very quick. Next time. Peace.